I realized my wife had already replaced me in her life the moment she stopped asking for my help. And the worst part, I thought she was just becoming stronger. If you had asked me about my marriage, I would have said, we're good. Not amazing. Not broken. Just good. I was 44, married for 17 years. 2 kids, Aiden, 15, and Sophie, 10. We lived in North Carolina. Nice house, steady income. The kind of life that doesn't raise questions. My wife, Lauren, used to need me. Not in a helpless way, but in small, everyday ways. Can you take a look at this? I'm not sure what to do here. Can you help me with something? Normal things. The kind of things that make you feel like you're part of something. Like you matter. And if I'm being honest, sometimes that annoyed me. Not because I didn't care, but because it felt constant. Like there was always something. Something to fix. Something to decide. Something to carry. And after a while, I started pushing back. Just figure it out. It's not that complicated. You don't need me for that. I thought I was helping. Encouraging independence. Making things easier. Making her more confident. At least, that's how I explained it to myself. At first, nothing changed. She still asked. Still checked. Still brought things to me. But over time, something shifted. She started asking less. Then, she stopped asking at all. At first, it felt like relief. No more interruptions. No more small decisions. No more feeling responsible for everything. Just space. And I told myself, she's just grown. That was my first mistake. Because needing someone isn't weakness. It's connection. And once that disappears, something else usually replaces it. The first moment something fell off was small. It always is. I came home one night, and something had already been fixed. A broken cabinet door. It had been loose for weeks. I kept meaning to fix it. Never got around to it. Now it was done. Clean. Aligned. Working. Hey, I said. You fixed that. Laura nodded. Yeah. That was it. No. I needed help. No. Can you check if I did it right? Nothing. Just done. And something about that didn't sit right. A few days later, it happened again. Different situation. Same feeling. The car had an issue. Usually, she'd ask me. This time, she handled it. Scheduled it. Took it in. Picked it up. Didn't even mention it until it was over. I got the car fixed, she said casually. That was it. No conversation. No involvement. Just information. And something inside me shifted. Not fully, but enough. Enough to feel uneasy. The next change was harder to ignore. Lauren stopped including me in decisions. Not just small ones. Bigger ones. Schedules. Plans. Things with the kids. I already handled it, she'd say. That phrase started showing up more. I figured it out. It's taken care of. And every time I heard it, something fell off. But I told myself, she's just being independent. That's what I wanted to believe. Because the alternative felt heavier. It meant she didn't need me anymore. And once someone stops needing you, they start building a life that doesn't include you. The next change was quieter, but deeper. Lauren stopped sharing things. Her day, her thoughts, her frustrations, all the small moments that used to connect us, started disappearing. And I didn't notice it right away. Because I wasn't sharing much either. We had both quietly stepped back, but only one of us had already moved forward. One night, we were sitting on the couch. TV on. Same routine. Lauren was on her phone. I was half watching something. She smiled. Not big, but real. The kind of smile you don't fake. I looked over. What? I asked. She shook her head. Nothing. That word again. Nothing. It never means nothing. But I didn't push. Because pushing means you're ready for the answer. And I wasn't. A few nights later, it happened again. Same smile. Same response. And this time, I didn't ask. I just watched. Because now, something felt different. Not wrong. Just separate. Like she had a life. That didn't include me anymore. The next change was the one I couldn't ignore. Lauren stopped needing me completely. Not for small things. Not for big things. Nothing. And at first, that felt easy. No pressure. No responsibility. Just space. But slowly, that space started to feel empty. Because being needed is part of being connected. And I was no longer part of hers. One night, I woke up randomly. Couldn't sleep. I turned slightly. Lauren was next to me. Facing away. Phone in her hand. Screen glowing softly. She was typing. Focused. And then, she smiled. The kind of smile I hadn't seen directed at me in a long time. And in that moment, something clicked. Not fully, but enough. Enough to know I wasn't imagining it. A few nights later, everything changed. I came home early. Unexpectedly. The house was quiet. Lights low. Lauren was in the kitchen. Phone on the counter. Screen lit. Unlocked. And this time, I didn't hesitate. I looked. Not because I want to catch her, but because at that point, I already knew I had been left out of something, and I needed to understand how far. The phone was on the counter. Screen lit. Messages open. I didn't pick it up. Didn't need to. The angle was enough. The message at the top said, "It's nice not having to rely on him for everything." My chest tightened, because I knew exactly what that meant. Not just about tasks. About me. Then another message came in. "You handle things better than he ever did." That one hit deeper, because I'd spent years pushing her to handle things, telling her she didn't need me. And now, someone else was stepping into the space I created. I stepped back, slowly, like if I moved too fast, the truth would hit all at once. "Hey." Her voice behind me. I turned. Lauren stood in the doorway, watching me. Her eyes moved to the counter, then back to me. And in that moment, everything shifted, because she knew, not what I saw, but that I saw something. "How long have you been home?" she asked. "Just got in." Not a lie, but not the truth either. She walked past me, picked up her phone, locked it. That movement said everything. Not panic, not fear, control. We stood there. Same kitchen, different reality. "I saw your messages," I said. Silence. Immediate. She didn't ask what. Didn't pretend. Didn't deny. "What did you see?" she asked. Same tone. Calm. Prepared. "I saw enough," I said. She exhaled slowly. Looked down. Then back up. And something in her face shifted. Not guilt. Relief. That caught me off guard. Like she had been holding something in. For a long time. "How long?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. "A few months." Of course. Months. Not a mistake. Not a moment. Something that had time to grow. "And it's not just talking," I said. Not a question. She shook her head. "No. Just that. No explanation. No defense. Just truth." "Are you seeing him?" I asked. That question changed everything. Because now, there was no space left. She looked at me. Held it. Yes. Quiet. Clear. I nodded once. No anger. No reaction. Because at that point, I already knew. "How long have you felt like this?" I asked. That question made her pause. Not about him. About us. "A long time," she said. That answer again. Heavy. "Before him?" I asked. She nodded. Yes. That hit harder than everything else. Because it meant this wasn't about him. He didn't take her from me. He stepped in. After I stepped out. "I didn't know," I said. She nodded. "I know." That answer again. That quiet confirmation that I had missed something important. We stood there. Same house. Different timelines. "I thought I was helping you," I said. She looked at me. "I know," she said. That word again. But now, it meant something else. It meant, "You thought you were doing the right thing." "I thought I was making you stronger," I said. She gave a small, tired nod. "You were," she said. That made me pause. Because I didn't expect that. Then she added, "But not closer to you." That one landed hard. Because it was simple and true. Every time I told her to figure things out on her own, she did. Every time I pushed her to stop needing me, she learned how. And over time, she stopped coming to me completely. "I didn't think it would turn into this," I said. She nodded. "I didn't either," she said. Then she added quietly, "But once I stopped needing you, I started noticing how alone I felt." That sentence stayed in the room. Heavy. Unavoidable. Because I understood it immediately. Need isn't weakness. It's connection. And I had slowly removed myself from hers. "Does he know about me?" I asked. "Yes." "What did you tell him?" "That you're a good man." That hit. Harder than expected. "And a husband?" I asked. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. I nodded slowly. Then asked the question that mattered most. "Are you leaving?" She didn't answer immediately. And that silence told me everything. "I don't know," she said. That answer again. But now, it meant something different. It meant she hadn't chosen me. She stepped slightly closer. "I didn't plan this," she said. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "Neither did I." And that was the truth. Not clean. Not simple. But real. The worst part wasn't that there was someone else. It was that she had already learned how to live without me. Long before I realized, I wasn't part of her life the way I thought I was. I wasn't part of her life the way I thought I was. That was the part one couldn't get past. Not the messages. Not even the fact that there was another man. It was the realization that while I still saw myself as her husband, useful, dependable, necessary, Lauren had already built an inner life that no longer depended on me at all. And once that happens, marriage doesn't break all at once. It becomes ceremonial. Lauren stood across from me in the kitchen, phone in her hand, face calm, not cold, just settled in a reality I was only now entering. I asked, "What's his name?" My voice sounded flatter than I expected. "Ben," she said. Of course it was something ordinary. That always feels wrong. You expect the person near the edge of your marriage to have some kind of dramatic outline, some obvious threat, some quality that explains everything. Instead, it's usually just a normal name attached to a quiet vacancy that had been growing for years. "How do you know him?" I asked. "Through one of the kids' school families at first," she said. "Then we kept talking." That phrase again. We kept talking. As if continuation is passive as if emotional drift happens by itself. "What does that mean?" I asked. She looked down at the counter for a second. "It means he became the person I called when I stopped expecting you to show up for anything that wasn't practical." That landed hard, because it wasn't even framed as romance first. It was substitution. I hadn't been replaced as a provider, that I'd been replaced as a presence. And I think that hurt more. "How long have you been seeing him?" "A few months." I nodded once. "A few months. Long enough to become familiar. Long enough to become routine. Long enough for her to have two emotional worlds running at the same time, while I still believed there was only one." "Did you sleep with him?" I asked. She paused, then nodded. "Yes." That hit. But by then, the bigger wound had already formed. Because the sex wasn't what created the distance that IT arrived after the distance had already been normalized. That's the part people don't talk about enough. By the time something becomes physical, the relationship has often been emotionally abandoned for much longer than anyone wants to admit. "What did you tell him about me?" I asked. Lauren looked at me. Really looked. "That you're a good man," she said quietly. "That you work hard. That you've always taken care of us." I almost laughed. The resume version. The version of me that sounds admirable and complete and stable enough to impress strangers. The version that still doesn't explain why my wife was sitting across from me in my kitchen, admitting she belonged somewhere else too. "And what did you leave out?" I asked. That made her expression change. Not anger. Not even defensiveness. Something like sorrow. "That I felt alone with you," she said. "That you slowly made me feel like needing you for anything emotional was a mistake. That after a while, I stopped bringing you things because I knew exactly how the conversation would end. That one cut clean. Because it didn't sound exaggerated. It sounded practiced. Not in a manipulative way in the way people sound when they've had to privately explain their pain to themselves many times before finally saying it out loud to someone else. I remembered all of it then. Every time she asked for help, and I turned it into a lesson. Every time she looked for reassurance, and I gave her efficiency. Every time she came to me with uncertainty, and I answered with some version of, "You've got it. Figure it out. You don't need me for that." At the time, I thought I was empowering her. Maybe I was. Maybe I was also quietly teaching her to stop counting on me. "I thought I was helping," I said. Lauren gave me that same exhausted nod. I know. That answer hurt every time. Because it meant the same thing every single time. You weren't trying to hurt me. You just did. That's a difficult thing to live with. Cruelty is easy to identify. Neglect wrapped in competence is harder. Because from the outside, it still looks responsible, still looks decent, still looks like love if you don't stay close enough to see what's missing. We both went quiet. Then I asked, "When did you stop needing me?" That question seemed to shake her more than the others. She sat down before answering, like standing had become too much work. "When I realized I had already been doing life without you emotionally for a long time," she said. That stayed in the room, because it was both simple and devastating. Not when she met Ben. Not when the messages started. Not even when she crossed the line physically. Before all that. When the emotional version of our marriage had already gone thin enough that her independence stopped feeling like growth and started feeling like grief. I thought you were just more capable, I said. She almost smiled. Not because it was funny, because sometimes the truth sounds ridiculous once you hear both versions of it at once. I became more capable because I had to, she said, not because it felt good. That one landed hard. I had mistaken adaptation for strength, self-protection for confidence, withdrawal for maturity. And because those things looked neat from the outside, I let myself believe we were doing better. I wasn't reading the marriage, I was reading my own comfort. Upstairs, I heard movement. Sophie first, then Aiden. Kids. The word itself changes a conversation. A second later, Sophie appeared in the hallway. Oversized shirt, sleepy eyes, sensing more than she understood. Aiden stood behind her, older, quieter, already reading the room too fast. Why are you guys still up? Sophie asked. Lauren answered too quickly. Why are you still up? Sophie frowned. That's not an answer. Aiden looked from her to me and back again. Are you okay? He asked. Not what happened. Not are you fighting. Just, are you okay? That somehow felt worse. Because it meant the kids had already been reading the emotional climate long before this night. Maybe not the details, but the weather. And children are always living inside the emotional weather adults pretend is invisible. I stepped forward a little. We love you, I said. That doesn't change. Sophie immediately looked at Lauren for confirmation. Lauren nodded, eyes wet now. Never. Aiden watched both of us longer. He was old enough to know that love and safety don't always move together. Still, he put a hand lightly on Sophie's shoulder and said, Come on. She nodded, but not before glancing back once. When their doors closed, the kitchen felt different. Not quieter, just exposed. Because now this wasn't private anymore. Not really. Maybe they didn't know Ben's name. Maybe they didn't know what the messages said. But they knew enough. And enough was already too much. Lauren stayed seated that I sat across from her. Same table. Same house. Too much history. Not enough shared life left. After a long silence, I asked the cleanest question in the room. Are you willing to end it? That changed everything. Because suddenly all the context disappeared. And no more, how did we get here? No more, what did I miss? No more softer language. Just, are you willing to end it? She looked at me, and I saw the answer before she spoke. Not because she loved him more than me, that I still don't know if that was true, but because the question hurt her, really hurt her, as if I had asked her to cut away the one place she felt emotionally received. I don't know how to just shut it off, she said quietly. That hit just as hard as if she had said no, because it meant Ben wasn't just a mistake, not just a detour, not just a lonely decision in a bad season. He had become relief, a place where she could need something and not be made to feel weak for needing it, a place where asking didn't feel embarrassing, a place where dependence wasn't treated like inconvenience. And once that happens, marriage is no longer competing with temptation. It is competing with emotional usefulness. If you're listening to this and your relationship feels easier because your partner stopped asking things of you, don't automatically call that growth. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for the glowing phone on the kitchen counter. Don't wait until your spouse stops asking for help and you mistake that for strength. And don't wait until your kids ask whether you're okay. Most marriages don't collapse in one moment. They erode in usefulness. One person keeps reaching. The other keeps pushing them to manage alone. Eventually they get good at it. And once they get good enough at living without you emotionally, someone else can walk into that empty space and feel like rescue. Lauren betrayed me, but that's true. But the part that still haunts me isn't just that she found someone else. It's that by the time I realized she had stopped needing me, she had already found someone who made needing him feel safe again.